If you're a lawyer wanting to grow your business through online marketing, you've come to the right place. My name is Matt Post.
And I'm Asha Madhavi.
And this is the SCM Dynamics Lawyer Marketing Podcast, episode 5. And what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about CRO, conversion rate optimization.
All right. So let's get started.
Okay, so I think the first thing that'd be great is let's talk about what are some of the things people can optimize. Like, what is really CRO? What does that mean?
Well, CRO is really, it's making changes to a website or identifying potential opportunities that somebody can take with either their messaging, their website, their marketing, their ads, all different types of assets or things, and then testing or optimizing to get the highest return. And really, the core, in my opinion, the core of CRO is how do you best align what you're wanting with what your client wants so that both, or your potential client, or the visitor to your website or whomever, so that the end result is that both people get what they want. Right? You're trying to get business. They're trying to find a solution. How do you best deliver that message saying that you are the best solution?
Yeah. And I think it's really important to mention that specifically, we're going to be talking about how to optimize your website or website pages, but you can apply this to ads and basically a lot of other areas as well. But for topic of this podcast, we're going to really focus more on the website itself.
I'm going to ask you some questions about ads though.
Oh, all right, then never mind.
I'm throwing you under the bus. That's, If you're going to ask me about websites, I'm asking you about ads. Let's start with it. For conversion rate optimization with ads. I'm diving right into that.
Let's do some ads.
And so we're going to talk about optimizing ads. Let's get that out of the way, right? Facebook ads, you can optimize by doing different experiments. Google, you can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. A question or something that I see come up every once in a while. And usually like when the budgets are low, I saw this a lot when like COVID was first hitting, people were cutting their budgets, and a lot of business owners their instructions to other marketers would be, I don't want to be doing a lot of testing right now. Let's just stick with what works. Is that, what's your response to that? Is that a good idea or?
Well, it really depends on the platform. So if we're talking about Google Ads, for example, and you have, let's say you've been running for a while, you have a best performing ad and you're not making changes, then yeah, it could work. The thought behind testing is things change. Your competitors are going to come up with different ads. People might be looking for something a little bit different. So the idea is to always try new things. But if you're not making any changes, let's say for like 4 months, you want to run the same ad, just that ad, yeah, it's probably going to be okay. With Facebook, however, it's the opposite. So with Facebook, you want to continue to change your ad because if people are seeing it continuously, if you have, depending how big your audience really is, but if they're already seeing your ad a couple times, they're going to continue seeing the same ad. They're going to get bored and they're calling it like your ad's going to become stale. So you want to continue to improve because what's going to happen, that always happens, is you have really great ad and it performs amazingly well. And then, so suddenly it starts performing worse over time. And that's because people have seen it too many times. You need new creatives. So with Facebook, definitely not a good way to go about it. Google Ads, probably going to be okay if you don't make any changes. Don't add new keywords, don't change new location targeting. Might work.
So what would be considered more, for the sake of this topic, more like a CRO for Google Ads? What would you be, first of all, let's define the conversion through Google Ad, like how, like, is that are you optimizing to the lead? Where do you, because conversion and conversion rate optimization, you identify what your conversion is first, right?
Yeah. So when we're talking about ads specifically. Really what we're looking at is how many people are going to click on the ad. So your click-through rate is what we're optimizing for. So our goal is write different messaging within the ad, try different ads, and see which of those ads people are more likely to click in comparison to the other ads you have.
Okay.
However, when we're talking about our website page, so we're actually looking at not how many people call, well, not how many people click on it, but we're really looking for how many people are going to convert, meaning call you, fill out a form. Like that is going to be our conversion goal for website pages. So we're going to optimize for that.
Okay, so the ad optimization itself, for the most part, optimizes to the click once they're delivered to the website. Then it's more of a filtering down process to trying to convert them to a lead and then intake, or if you don't have intake, the attorney's job to convert that lead or qualify that lead.
Exactly.
So on and so forth. Okay. Well, are there ways to pre-qualify that click with your ad, right? So you could get rid of the junk traffic ahead of time.
Yeah. And that's actually something that like we had to make adjustments for ourselves the other day is sometimes you're going to have an ad copy that might be getting a ton of clicks, but because of the language, it may be misleading. So that people might be thinking they're clicking because they're looking for one thing. And when they click on the ad, they get your site like, oh, that's not what I'm looking for. So you have to be very careful. Sometimes a high click-through rate could be misleading. So you need to take into an account other metrics.
Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, and we did run into that the other, was it 2 days ago? Yesterday? 2 days ago?
Yesterday, I think.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. So when we go into the website, I mean, what we're going to look at is how do people interact? What are they clicking on? What are they not clicking on? Track mouse movements. There's all these different Big Brother pieces of software and things that we're going to look at. And
very exciting.
The first really, like when we go into CRO, the first thing is to gather whatever information you have. And so just like with your click-through rate and everything, we want to map how many clicks are coming into the website. You build a filter visually. We plot it out. So here's how many people come to your website through this method. And let's just assume we're optimizing a paid ad campaign. So we looked at the clicks that come in. How many of those clicks turn into a lead? How many of those leads turn into clients? And that way we can have a real basic funnel. And we know where the problem is, right? Because if somebody comes to us and says, hey, we're not converting, we know how can we get higher conversion rates? And we look at the funnel and we're like, okay, your click-through rate's really good. You've got nothing is out of whack there. You look at the website and say, oh, well, you're converting at like 20% or 30%, or you have a high conversion rate. But once they become a lead, only 5% of those become a client. Why? Right? Once you map that out, then you know where your problem area is. It's I'd say very basic thing to do, but it's just it's a foundational practice to have that funnel so you can visualize for us and also for clients, for attorney or whomever, to see where that drop off is. And then we can start troubleshooting that one specific area, right? High leads, and half of those become clients, or 20% become clients of those leads, great.
Then you're doing great.
Good, but it could be the ads. Oh, we're not getting enough traffic. Well, let's feed more. How can we get more people into that funnel? It's, then it's a traffic issue. And I would think that a lot of people, I know some people, we need to not test. And, going back to, I guess, my question to you is, what would your response be? In my experience, what I've found over, however long I've been doing this, I'm not going to say it because then I'll feel old. Yeah. So for however long I've been doing this, I've always found it most profitable to convert at a higher rate, right? The most expensive thing you can do is get more traffic. Traffic costs money per click, even SEO, right? You're going to have to put forth human capital. You're going to have to put forth, or if you're hiring an agency, that agency is going to put forth human capital. They're going to charge you for it. You're going to pay a monthly rate of X amount to have ongoing content and optimizations and whatever goes into your strategy of creating traffic. But the creation of traffic is what is most expensive for a website generally. And second, so if you can convert at a higher rate, if you can take a 5% conversion rate and you can make it into a 6% conversion rate, you have potentially increased your business by 20%. And that one extra percent.
Your money.
Yeah, and all we're trying to do is squeeze out that 1% because it makes such a huge difference. So it's easier to add 20% of conversion rate than it is to increase your traffic by 20% and stay within budget. I mean, unless you have an open-ended budget. If you have an open-ended budget, it's still true. there is a ceiling to how much traffic you can get as a lawyer, right? There's only so many people searching for a car accident lawyer in California or Texas or New York or Florida. A, there's only so many car accidents, and B, only a certain percentage of those people have or will look for an attorney because they either don't have one, they haven't got a personal referral, or whatever the case may be. And so therefore you have a finite number. Even with an unlimited budget, you hit a ceiling. Mm-hmm. And where do you go from there? Okay, increase the number of people that are actually becoming leads. And I think the average, I'm gonna mess this up. The average is somewhere between 7 and 8%, or 7 and 9%. Somewhere between there. It's like that's the average conversion rate. So how do we have a website have a higher conversion rate? And usually becomes apparent for us. It's it's a lack of trust. It's could be asking for the conversion too early, not giving enough information depending on what type of law. There's all these different things that all kind of you never know until you know. And once you see it in front of you, you're like, oh, duh, that's what it is. I shouldn't put the testimonials at the very bottom of my website because people don't scroll.
They don't scroll. Yeah. So let's talk about what are some of the first things people can do to improve their conversion. What should they look at? Kind of like what are some of the basics of where do we start?
Okay, so assuming that the problem is the website and that we already have that foundation, we've already done that funnel, and we're like, okay, it's the website's the problem, or the landing page. So the first thing that I prefer to do is I like to heat map the website initially to get just a baseline reading and kind of understand how people are browsing in bulk. The caveat to that is that you have to have enough traffic.
And for those who don't know what a heat map is, can you explain that really quick?
Yeah. So heat map is going to be, okay, have you ever, in the movies, when it's like a heat sensor, like heat tracker, where it shows the outline of the bad guy behind the wall and the sniper shoots him, right? Okay, so heat map kind of looks like that, but it's on your website and it shows a different depth of color or different color depending on how often an action is taken. So say if it's for scrolling, the very top is going to be red because everybody sees the top of your page because that's where they start their journey, right? And as you go down, it's going to turn to, orange and then yellow and then blue and then gray, and because gray is where nobody goes. And that's the natural flow of what you would see. And so you can see how far down somebody scrolls, which kind of says how engaging the page is, or how often or how early somebody is discovering that you are or are not the solution. Where are they making that decision at? The majority of people. Also, your heat mapping can show how often people click on certain elements. So it looks like a heat chart. I mean, I don't know. It's like a thermal chart, right?
Very much so, yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm describing this right. And if a lot of people click, like it'll track where people click on a certain page or tap on a phone. And if the more people tap on a certain area, the brighter that color gets. And then you can like mouse over and it tells you exactly what the number is and all that good stuff. And also you can see mouse movements. So you can watch you have a heat map where the mouse moves. And so the brighter the color, the more people have their mouse move over that same area. Now, that is only for desktop because on mobile, there's no mouse.
So what does it do for mobile? How can you tell?
You off of tap or scroll depth. That's it.
Yeah. And then you'll basically see little dots on your heat map, and that implies where people put their finger. So sometimes you have to think about it. Sometimes it's just like a place where the naturally scroll happens. And then you'll see dots when people actually try to click on it. So you have to pay attention and analyze that before jumping to conclusions.
Yeah. And there is, and I brought it up on my other screen because I wanted to bring it up here. There is a site called realeye.com, and it uses the camera because mobile, there's no mouse. And also most important, in my opinion, is what are people looking at? Okay? And the assumption is with mouse tracking is that where they're moving their mouse is kind of what they're looking at, where their attention is. That is an assumption though. With RealEye, it will track the eye movement of participants. So you have people sign up and they are shown your website and it tracks where their eyes go when your website comes up. It's really cool. It's not cheap, but it's like really like next level, MacGyver kind of.
Yeah. And for the users, if you're not part of it, if you didn't sign up, they're not going to track you. So don't worry.
Or will they? Yeah, no, they won't. They have, you have special software that they have that will
give permission.
Yeah, allows them to record your camera. They're not the CIA. Only the CIA tracks your camera and where your eyes go when you're not, when you're not looking.
Right.
So anyways, that's a cool one to do if you want to know where people are looking. It's also really good for like banner ads and things of that sort. And there's other platforms that test banner ads and images, but I guess we can get into that later. We can get into it now, whatever. But so what I do is, first of all, I want to see baseline. What are people, how are they interacting? Where's their mouse going? What are they clicking on? What are they not clicking on? How far are they scrolling down? Going back again, the caveat is you have to have enough traffic for this to make sense. If you're only getting like a handful of people a week, it's going to take forever to get enough traffic to have, any kind of correlation where it's going to do any good. So if I can't have a baseline, then I just want the numbers. What's your click-through rate? That foundation, and that has to be based on enough numbers too, enough people.
What is enough numbers?
Minimum of 100. Absolute minimum of 100 for determining like conversion rate and click-through rate, click-to-lead rate. That would be the minimum that I would say is 100. For heat mapping, I want to see several hundred. I want to see 1,000. That's in the neighborhood that I want. I want a few hundred plus. 1,000 is a good number for me.
Yeah, and if you're running ads, it shouldn't be too hard.
Depends.
Sure. Okay, so let's say we have enough data. We have a heat map. What are some things that they should look at to help them like analyze whether there's enough data or if there's any actions they could take?
What are they not clicking on that you want them to click on? That's the number one thing. Are they, if you have a form, do you have, 20 clicks on the first two fields and like 3 clicks on the last field and like 1 click on the submit? All right. You may want to think about rewording what your form says or the instructions or how it approaches or where it is, or, so these are the things to start forming a hypothesis, right? We're at a hypothesis stage right now. We haven't really done any true discovery. We're just we're gathering data to brainstorm at this point. And so it's what are they clicking on that you don't want them to click on? And what are they not clicking on that you do want them to click on? So when it comes to what are they clicking on that you don't want them to click on? I would say if they're clicking on like the heading of a text, expecting it to be a link to go somewhere, and there's a lot of people clicking on that, you may want to either change that element or make that element actually make it interactive so they can click on it and something does occur. So it's about, at this point, it's about the user's expectation and how they're interacting with your website.
I want to give an example on which I think will drive the point. So let's say you have a page. On your page, you have a little section that talks about your attorney, and you see a lot of people clicking on a photo of the attorney. That means they think that they want to go and read more about the attorney. So you either add more information or kind of take that into consideration when you decide what that's really telling you is there's not enough on this page about the attorney for people to call or fill out a form, and they want to read about the attorney before they take the action that you want them to take.
Yeah, and that's a great example. It's a great point. And we see that quite often where, it's an image or the logo where there's a lot of clicks on the logo. It's like, okay, they're trying to go to the homepage. People, they've been trained that clicking on a company's logo goes to the homepage, and if it's not linked, then they're expecting an action, and you are creating a point of frustration by not allowing that action to actually deliver what they're deliver on their expectations.
And to be fair, for Google Ads especially, but for most ads, we don't want them to go to multiple pages. We don't want them to go to a homepage because their chance of them converting is going to go down. And we want them to convert on the page they're on most of the time. Mm-hmm. So if they're trying to go to a homepage, then that probably means that there's something on the page you provided that isn't enough. There's not enough information. They want to do more research. So start thinking, if that's happening to you, what can I add to my page to reduce the number of people wanting to go to a homepage and do more research?
Yeah. That's where this whole brainstorming occurs. Like you're just getting information and really brainstorming about how people are using the site. And if there is not enough traffic, then you almost have to skip this step, because or else you can start making assumptions that can be irrelevant. But for me, what I like is live user testing. Where we're going to pull. And gather a collection of, it really can be, you can usually find correlation with 5 people taking a test. And 10 people is better because it just kind of drives it home. So with live user testing, you set up a, whatever your environment is. Let's assume, again, landing page, right? PPC landing page. And you have 10 people in this example that are going to read a scenario and then carry out a list of instructions. And for example, it would say, pretend that you were involved in a motorcycle accident. After searching on Google for a motorcycle accident lawyer, you arrived to this web page. And then they would be instructed to, whatever their instructions are, and they would visit the web page. And we do this with audio recording. So we record the page, we record what they're doing on the page, and we're recording their audio so they can, speak to us. And the idea is that they tell you everything that they're experiencing, and you ask open questions as to what their experience is. Would you use this lawyer? Would you trust this lawyer? Is this the right match for you? Why would you not use them? Or what, there's about 30 some odd questions that we could use depending on the situation. And we, select whatever we feel is most appropriate. And then, I'll listen to those or watch those videos, once over, no notes, nothing. Just watch each one of those videos, watch their experience. And by the time I get to, about halfway through, I'm starting to see some pattern. I'm like, I think this is an issue. And, you're going to have the Debbie Downer. You're going to have that one person that no matter what, they're going to hate the site. And we've had people that come on the site, live user testing. Oh, would you trust this lawyer? No, I don't trust any lawyers. Like, oh.
Yeah, it literally happens every single test.
Every time.
But regardless, you still take the information. And I think it's really, really important to pay attention to what they say as much as to what they don't say. So one of the things that personally I always pay attention is how far down did they scroll, which you can see in the heat map, but also do they keep scrolling because they're trying to find more information? Mm-hmm. And they will say that like, oh, I want to know this and that. Like, oh, are those reviews real or fake? Like you'll hear what their thoughts process are. So maybe you already have a review and you think you're doing great, but every comment you'll be like, oh, I don't know if this review is real.
Yep.
Then you know, like, okay, my review is in the right place, but maybe I need to make some adjustments to make it more legitimate. So it's a real client. Or you might get people who think, oh, I want to know reviews. And they're like, oh, there it is. So we know that in their mind, and you usually see patterns if that's happening, that multiple people like will ask, like, oh yeah, I want to see reviews. And then, oh, there it is. Don't mark it off like, okay, there's my review. Take into consideration what they're saying and maybe move your review higher on the page where they're thinking they want to see it.
Yeah. And I've seen that quite often where the commenter, the test taker, they're scrolling around like, I don't know if I would trust this attorney because, they don't really have any reviews or anything. And I like reading what other people have to say, and they'll scroll around and then they'll hit the review at the, oh yeah, wait, never mind. There's the review. And you're absolutely right. It's that they didn't find it ahead of time, right? We have to understand that we are giving a test environment, and they're given 1 or 2 minutes on the page. Most people are not going to spend 1 or 2 minutes on your page to decide whether they like it or not. They're going to decide within the first few seconds. Right? Mm-hmm. They're going to show up. They're going to determine right away: does this match what I want? Is this, I'm searching for A. Did I arrive to A, or is this B or C or D? Is it something else? And once they know that they've arrived at the right place, it's, can I trust this person? Right? That's what, what do they do? Right? How can I benefit? And can I trust those benefits? Right? Can I trust the story, the narrative that I've been told for me to decide that this is the right person and they can give me what I want? So that's really, in the most simplest terms, to increase your conversion rate. If you can answer those 3 things right away, you will bump your conversion rate. So you go to the site, first thing you do, and I tell people right away, and I've just on, not even attorneys' websites, just people that I know where they, hey, can you take a look at my site and take a look and what do you think? And so, right away, when I bring up your site, I don't know what you do. Like we're friends, I know what you do, but when I go to your website and I forget what you've told me, I don't know what you do. Like I show up and it says, believe the unbelievable. What the hell is that? What? Are you a circus magician? Like, what do you do? And no, I do electrical work. It's like, had no idea. I would have bounced. I would have shown up and been like, I'm not here to hire a clown. Like, I don't want a magician. I want my electricity fixed. I'm bouncing out. And that's the harsh reality. And that's the way people are, though. Like, think of anybody listening to this or watching this. Think of when you've shown up to the wrong website. Like, how long did you stick around for? How long did it take for you to determine that you're at the wrong website? It was probably pretty quick. So if you want to do a quick CRO test on your own website really quick, forget what you do. Forget about all your benefits and all your features and all this stuff. Just out of your mind, right? Get rid of it. Go to your website. Give yourself 3 seconds. Load your website up, and without scrambling around and because you've got a race to find it, load up your website within 3 seconds. Just look at it and then bam. Okay. What do you do? If you can't answer that, then that's the first thing to fix. Most likely, and there are things that you can't overcome. Like same thing with going through the testimonials. I did a CRO test on a fitness trainer, and she was putting together a program, and we were doing some CRO testing, and one thing that we couldn't overcome and we didn't realize, there's this long page, huge long landing page, and the first round of testing. And by the way, you're going to do multiple rounds of testing. That's a good idea. Yeah, you should. Yeah, it's not like you're not going to get all the answers in one thing. You're going to get the first set of roadblocks. So like in this example, we tested the site and they're like, oh, like this is so much text. I got to go through all this stuff and all this stuff and all that. And it was like, oh my goodness, we tested 10 people. And I think half the people had an issue with the amount, just the sheer quantity of information that we had on this page. And some long landing pages do work out better when there is a lot of information. This was not the case. It was apparent that this was the issue. So, okay, this is the roadblock. Let's overcome this. We recategorize things. We rearrange things. We, minimize the page, made it real slick. We'll answer the question right away. They can show up. They can see the, what you do, what's the benefit, and are you, is this for real? And one of the things about a personal trainer, right, or personal fitness or whatever, like type of website, you always see before and after photos. So here's the before and after photo. It's like right up toward the top, blah, blah, blah. We ran the second test. 6 out of 10 people had the same comment. That's a fake before and after photo. That's not the same person. But it was. That was the owner of the company. And I told her, she's like, well, I guess that's a compliment, because that really is my before, and that is what I mean. That is really me now. But the hair color was different. The hairstyle was different. She was wearing the same clothes, but nobody realized that. It looked like a different person, and you don't realize it until you have 6 out of 10 other people tell you. There's that saying is you can't see the forest from the trees, and a lot of times as developers and website owners, you can't see the forest from the trees. You need 6 out of 10 people to call BS on your before and after photo, even though it's real, right? We've had testimonials where, 4 out of 10 people say that the testimonial's not trustworthy for one reason or another. Mm-hmm. Well, forest from the trees, I would have never picked up on that. There's the testimonials. They're right there. No, they're not. I don't know if I would trust these. They don't really say the full name, because they're using abbreviations for the name. It's like, oh, well, it's a good point. 4 out of 10 people say that. Might want to listen. Might want to consider reworking that. So that's what the live user testing will do is it really, it plain as day, here's the roadblocks, right? So we're going to hypothesize what we think could be wrong and say, here's what we think, here's what we're seeing in the user behavior. Now let's do live user testing. And does the live user testing confirm what we thought was going to be wrong? And also the live user behavior, like you were saying, Masha, where it's, how are they scrolling? Right? They may not be saying something, but it's how they're interacting with the page, and you're watching them and listening to them. And you're like, that's why the scroll depth looks like that, because that's when they lose trust right there. Now I can see it in the live user testing, and you've confirmed it through the heat mapping. Then it's the roadblocks and how you overcome it.
Yeah, and always retest. You make your changes, test again to make sure your changes are helping, and then doing the opposite, or maybe there's more things. So retesting at the after you make changes is really, really important, which I think it gets overlooked because people are like, oh, I know what's wrong, I fixed it, but did you really fix it?
Yeah. Oh, there's the problem. If we did not retest after that fitness trainer site, 6 out of 10 people didn't trust the before and after and would not convert because of that. Automatic loss of trust. The first image that they saw was a before and after photo. Think about that, right? So the first photo that we saw had 60% of the people immediately distrust a website because the first image they saw, they did not believe. That's after we had already tested the site and determined that the roadblock was the length of content, and it was. That was just the first roadblock before we uncovered the lack of trust. So there was 2 huge roadblocks. The first one was just covering up what the second one was. Mm-hmm. So we get rid of those 2, then you can start, and even after, if you run into a situation where you have that like 2 huge roadblocks like that, guess what? 3 rounds of testing, right? Like you don't stop, you continue. Okay, now we cleared the content length. Now we cleared the before and after. Let's do a 3rd round. Okay, and then I'm going to go hypothetical on here. 3rd round of testing. People are, I don't trust this because I don't see a before and after photo. We're like, oh crap, they don't trust the before and after photo beforehand, but they want a before and after. So we got to figure out what we're going to do. Okay, we have to give them a before and after photo. Okay, guess what? 4 rounds of testing, right? You're going to keep going until you stop getting massive amounts of correlation of a roadblock.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to mention that you don't just test once, figure it out and forget it. Because most businesses, we grow, we adjust, we add new pages, we add new content. For lawyers, might want to be adding new practice areas. So you continue, this should be part of your team. Like you constantly test new pages.
Yeah.
Maybe you tested some a year ago, run another test again. Things change. We as users are changing. A lot of times our behaviors are changes. So things that were acceptable before, now people might not trust it anymore because they've seen everyone it and it loses trust. So just because it tested well 3 years ago does not mean it will do as well now. So you need to keep running those tests. Yeah,
you bring up a good point as user behavior changes. I mean, if you look at some sites like Google, they test and test and test, and they do conversion rate optimization testing or user experience testing on their search engine result pages all the time. They are quite often, I mean, literally, they're almost all, I'm just to say, like better, they're always testing something. Not almost always, not likely. Like I can't think of a time in the last 2 years where they haven't been testing something in a region somewhere where they're changing what the search engine result pages look like.
Yeah. So I think videos and like listening to those is the most exciting part. At least I find the most exciting part of CRO. But let's talk about what are some of the things that you've noticed, you've learned, that maybe you want to share for people to pay attention to, or that they can do on their own if they don't have access to those tools.
If you don't have access to those tools, then two things. Well, okay, so I'll start off with two things. First thing is three things. Who are we kidding? I ramble.
As you can tell, this is not scripted.
I talk. Get used to it. No. All right. I would bring up 2 points, but there's one that's really good. That I mean, I already talked about it, so I'm just going to touch on it real quick. You exist as a person. I mean, anybody watching this, you're watching, you think, therefore you are, right? You're watching this, therefore you exist. You probably have a website. If so, you wouldn't have gone half an hour into this video, right? So you're here and you're interested. You say, hey, I want to change my website. How can I do it? But I don't have the money, the time, the tools. Okay, you're a human. Go to your website, look at it for 3 seconds, right? Give yourself 3 seconds. Do you know what your website does? I would go through those questions. What is do you know what your website does? Is it, are you a match, right? What are your benefits? And why should they trust you over a competitor? Because you're probably not the first website they've seen. Chances are. So answer those 3 questions within 3 seconds. If you can't, start hypothesizing on how you can. Start thinking about what you can do to fill that for your visitors. And that costs $0. Beyond that, I hope you have friends. If not,
got some friends.
Not get some friends. You probably know some people. Then ask them the same thing. Like, hey, I want to show you this. And if you want, put it on a tablet or put it on your screen or whatever. Don't tell them you're going to give them 3 seconds. That's the best part. The best part is when you don't give, when they don't know that they just have 3 seconds. That's when you really, tell. So take your monitor. Like, I'm going to show you the site, right? Ready? Okay. Now let me ask you, what do they do? Right? What benefits do they give you? Who do they help? How do they help? And why would you trust them over somebody else? And then watch your friends have just a blank stare over their face. And then you're like, oh, I got a problem with my website. What can I change? Right? That would do that. That's free. Like I prefer live user testing of total strangers, right? But if you don't have that ability, if you can't do that, then I mean, it's better than nothing. It's I'd rather have it's bias. Understand it's bias.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Like when you're asking friends, they might already know what you do. Probably their friends. Maybe ask someone who doesn't. That will help you a little bit. Because if they already know what you do, they might not they might know and say that, not because they saw it on your site. So keep that in mind. And there might be some people who just are not comfortable like saying anything negative. So keep that in mind too, especially if they know you, they don't want to offend you, especially if you told them how you've been working on this site for a long time. They're not going to say anything bad.
Yeah, don't tell them that. Don't tell me we're on the site for a long time.
Yeah,
ask them questions that will make them tell you a negative, right?
Yeah.
Instead of asking, would you trust this site? Why would you trust this site? Ask, why would you not trust this site?
Very good question. Because that makes you think a little bit differently.
Yeah. Instead of like, oh, what do you think of this page? Ask, what would you change on this page to make it better? You're forcing that answer to be negative, and because you want it. So don't get. And this is one of the great things about using a CRO company, whether it's us or anybody else. Like using a third party to conduct this. It's another great reason why you want to use a realtor to sell your house. One of the great advantages is an emotional separation, right? As a CRO, I don't own your website. I probably didn't build your website. Maybe I did. Even if I did, doesn't matter, right? We're gonna take the emotions out of it. We're just gonna look at the data and say 60% of the people don't like how you look. We're gonna be the bearers of bad news. We're gonna be like, hey, all these people didn't think you're full of it, and this is why. And it's not us telling you. We're interpreting, an hour, 2 hours of video of 10 or 20 people telling us this. It's the truth. When you own the website and this is your baby, right? And you're like, oh man, I've been spending, the last 3 months on my Wix site. Now it's perfect. And someone's like, oh, the site is horrible. Like, then you're going to be like, no. Then you're going to start making excuses to why you're going to be excusing the user's behavior, that it's their fault, that they can't figure it out. No, it's your fault because you did not present it in a way that could be figurable. That's even the way.
And I think sometimes aesthetics overtake and be like, oh, it looks so pretty. But at the end of the day, it's really about the messaging. Pretty is great, but it's not going to sell your product or your service. So sometimes it's hard, especially if you're really involved in it.
Oh, yeah.
But those are like must-haves, must-dos, whether you've have a website for a long time or just starting a design, and before you build it, might be want to test it, like, hey, is this the way to go?
Yeah.
But we're talking about is only part of what you should be doing. So I want to transition us into, let's say we've done our testing, we come up with a new version that we think is going to do way, way better. Here's a really important part. Does not mean you automatically switch over. Sometimes you can, but if you can, to do an A/B test and run both versions to see, like, do all those changes actually going to do better? And probably they are, but you want to test it.
Yeah. And but like you said, if you can, right? If
you can.
Yeah. If this is a brand new website, you don't have the traffic, you don't have the baseline beforehand. You could A/B test it still, and depending on your budget, depending on what you have coming into it. But remember, if you are doing an A/B test, you do need enough traffic to be able to determine whether or not, with a high enough level of confidence, that version B beats out version A. Yeah. Which is why, again, live user testing multiple times, make sure so those roadblocks aren't there. The true determiner of the winner is, you're right, is an A/B test where you can say with a large percentage, 80% plus 90%, percentage of confidence that the changes have increased your conversion rate. A lot of times we face situations where that's not the case, where we just don't have enough traffic. The new website, there's not getting enough traffic. That traffic is valuable, mind you. And it will take too long. It would take 6 months to get enough traffic at the going rate. At that point, you do your best to make a determination of, which one is better, and that's where that follow-up live user testing comes into play.
Yeah. But if you can, and let's say if you are running ads and you do get enough traffic, I think the really important thing is, let's say you tracking your conversion rate. You had your original version, let's pretend your conversion rate was 10%. So you roll out version B. You've done all those user studies, you improved it, and you wanted to run them side by side. So let's say the first one still 10, the second one now is 15. Great. Get rid of the first version. Now this is going to be version A. So the one's 15%. Now we're going to take another look at it, but what else can we improve? Don't just stop there. 15 is great, but can you get it to 20? I bet you can. So let's start this process again and start tweaking things. And maybe it could be as simple as rearranging where things are located, maybe adding a couple more seals or maybe more testimonials, or maybe something for lawyers as like how many cases you've settled, or maybe add a video from someone talking about how great you are. So things that might not have came up in the user study because we were looking on how to improve what we had, but now let's add more elements and see if we can improve further. And I think the process of continuing studying and improving your conversion rate is what's going to get you to much higher ROI, and it will separate you from your competitors.
Yep. And for a little extra added secret, if we want to go this route, something to consider: you don't have to just do CRO on your own pages, right? If you're starting out doing pay-per-click advertising, why not run CRO on your top competitors' landing pages and find out what are they doing that's wrong and what are they doing that's right? Then you can incorporate those into your landing page. So your landing page can be the fix of your competitor.
Yeah. So, and I just want to, when we say incorporate those elements, incorporate maybe the layout. Don't copy their page. And I really want to make sure, like we
Copy
say,
their page.
do not copy their pages.
Don't listen to Asha. Copy the text verbatim. See what happens. Yeah. Don't copy verbatim. Yeah.
Yeah. We use it as a guide to learn what's working for them, so then we can make that work for us. Yeah.
It's about, again, it's not like, oh, this testimonial looks great, I'm going to copy and put it on my website. I'm sure there's people that do that. Actually, I know there's people that have done like stuff like that. Yeah, we're like, oh, we want this whole thing. We had somebody who copied our entire page verbatim, including our company name, and put it on their website. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's not the smartest thing. So we filed, what we filed, and we ended up shutting down their whole website. Oh, and I forgot number 3. I said 2 things. I told you I'm going to talk a lot here. Number 3, exit surveys, right? So you can do exit surveys of current clients. And so a lot of people say, oh, do an exit survey and then ask, why did you choose us? Why did you want to know, and those are great questions. Like, what made you go with our law firm? How, from 1 to 10, how would you rate the service you've received? Were your expectations met? Like, those are great questions. Another question that most people don't ask is, what made you almost not go with us? What made you almost not decide to choose ABC law firm? That's going to probably, in my opinion, give you the most valuable information for what you can change. And here's an example. We did this ourselves, where we exit survey clients, and with our ADA compliance service, where we make websites ADA compliant. One of the exit surveys was, what made you almost not go with us, or decide not to select us, or however we worded it. The answer was, looking at your website, this isn't a specialization of yours. I'm like, yeah, that's true. And fortunately, we were already in the process of splitting off that service into its own company, its own website, but that just kind of revalidated our decision to do this. And it's, we didn't, specialize in this, so I didn't know whether I should be using you guys or not, but I'm glad I did, blah, blah, blah. They were happy with the service. They give us some feedback and that we can use on our website, testimonials and all kinds of good stuff. But they almost didn't select us because our website talks about marketing for lawyers. That is the bulk major part of our website. And we had this one service on our site doing ADA compliance for websites that really didn't have anything to match with working with lawyers. And on the flip side, people coming to him for ADA compliance would look at him like, wait a minute, I'm getting sued. Why don't I want somebody that's marketing for lawyers? So we took that and moved it into its own separate company, separate services, totally separate deal. And it's working out well for us so far. So you may find the same thing. It's free. All those things are free. One, use your own mind, your own brain, spend 3 seconds. 2, have your friends check out your website. Friends, family, if you don't have, a pool of
Neighbors.
people. Yeah. Neighbors. Yeah. Whatever. You put a mask on them now and just say, hey, stay 6 feet away, but look at my website. And then number 3, exit surveys. Everybody say, hey, while we're personal injury check, we're going to go get your check right, or not personal injury check, personal injury attorney. Man, what are we at? Almost an hour. All right. Personal injury attorney. You're going to say, I'm going to go in the other room right now. I'm going to go get your check. I'll be right back. In the meantime, we always ask our clients, we want to know, we value your opinion. If you can fill out this quick survey, it's 3 questions long, just fill it out for us. I'll be right back. Of course they're going to. Preface it. Do you mind doing me a favor? I love that. I've told you this one before, man. I love it. Always start off, do you mind doing me a favor? Who says no? Like, what client that you just got them $100,000 or you just successfully dealt with a case or matter on their behalf is not going to do you a favor on the spot when you point blank say, hey, do you mind if you do me a favor? Can you do this? We have a short survey. So I want to know if you can take this.
Great way to get reviews. Side note.
Yeah. And a great way to get reviews. Great way to get feedback. Hey, do you mind doing me a favor? We're trying to build up our Google reviews. Do you mind going on your phone right now? Just going to Google. Like, I'll send you a link. Here's a link. If you go on there, just put a short review, or give us not a short review. Sorry, give us your feedback real quick. And I almost caught myself. Right, I know you. I saw you. Whoa. Always say feedback, not review. So to give us your feedback real quick. About where did the incident take place? What kind of services? Did we? What the matter was about? I'm gonna go get your check. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Real quick, why do we not want to say review and why are we saying feedback instead for those who don't know?
Oh, yeah. So a review is often seen as a rating, right? So like, oh, let's get your review. In a lot of people's mind, that's a 5-star rating. It's not. Where feedback is, I want an in-depth account of your experience. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have depth in the review. And in Google, the content and the depth, the content of a review will naturally include keywords, and the content of a review is a ranking factor for your Google My Business page. So it will do 2 things. I'm going to bring this back to conversion rate optimization. So it'll do 2 things. So it'll help you rank higher for a greater number of keywords. Number 2, your reviews will help you it will help you convert. So if you have a review where it uses car accident lawyer and somebody's searching for a car accident lawyer and your Google My Business page shows up, your review will bold. Part of that review will come into your listing and it'll bold out car accident lawyer. So you've revalidated, right? That's step 1, right? Do you do what they want? Right? Taken care of. Bam. Because your review says car accident lawyer and it's going to bold it. And they're like, oh, this guy's a car accident lawyer because Google just told me so. And the review has to do with a car accident where they gave me a 5-star. So I know that number 1, they do what they do. And number 2, do they bring value? Do they handle what I want better than everybody else? Do they bring, what's the benefit? Well, the benefit is they're going to give me the money. The benefit is in this review. So we're now going to answer that. The benefit here, they do what I want. They give me the benefits. And do they follow up on what they say they're going to do? Is there proof in the pudding? Is there validity in the claim? There is validity in the claim because this is a third-party person on a third-party platform giving me a 5-star review. Those 3 things have just been taken care of on a conversion rate standpoint just by that one review that matches what the terms are.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that. So car accidents are pretty common, but if you get a handful of reviews about motorcycle, or if you're a divorce lawyer, if you have someone like, hey, I'm a dad and they help me get a custody, because a lot of people are specifically looking for people who will help with that, for example. Like whatever niche you really wanted to show up for, make sure that those reviews are on those pages, and it's going to help you to create that you're actually an expert in that tiny field that maybe not many people have reviews in.
Yeah. And even so, going back to like the whole CRO thing is a lot of times the optimizations in your Google My Business page are exponentially greater when you start doing CRO. That's what I mean. A lot of the things that will benefit your organic ranking will also benefit the not just your positioning, but it optimizes the your conversion rate on your Google My Business page. It pre-qualifies people ahead of time, and it gets them wanting to give you a call. And your Google My Business page has a button on there if you're on mobile where you can just call directly from your phone instead of going to the website. So it bypasses that funnel process, right? You go, oh, we mapped out. Do they click? Do they visit your page? Do they become a lead? Take away the page. Take away the page. You only have two problems now. There is no problem necessarily with your website. They're going to click directly to call. Now, the quality of that lead, the caveat, right? If it's paid, like the quality of that lead may be less because they haven't really gone through that next step of qualification. But I'm going to go on this side tangent. I'm going to stop myself because this is going to be another 2-hour long conversation. But SEO for your Google My Business page, a lot of that is going to be CRO. It should be CRO. Not a lot of people don't treat it that way, but it should be treated that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. So,
no. Anyways, we are coming up on an hour.
Yeah.
But I pretty much took all the time here, right? I mean, I just blab. I
honestly have not paid attention to time, but I feel like we've covered the topic pretty well, especially the beginning introduction. I think for those who are interested, if you guys have any questions, let us know. There's a ton of information out there on how to run your own studies and like where to start. So definitely, if you haven't done it, look into it, do some research, make that into a part of your marketing. Like if you haven't done it, start. If you do it, there's always ways to improve.
Yeah, there's a ton of resources out there, and definitely use us as a resource. I mean, if you have a question, client sign up, nothing, just shoot us an email. We'll answer the question. We'll tell you the resources. Yeah,
and we'll send you guys a link if you guys have like not know where to go. We'll set you guys up. So let us know. Yep. And I think that's it for today.
Yep, I'm going to put a link in the description to our CRO page. If you do have any questions, you can get a hold of us there, right?
And side note, we just went live with our new site redesign. So check it out.
We did 0 CRO for it, or did we?
No, we
did.
We didn't go live without CRO.
I know. We definitely did a lot. So anyways, yeah, definitely check it out. And we will, till next time, take it easy.
Bye, guys.